The turning point when she misses you most, psychology tricks. Here's the brutal truth. She doesn't miss you when you're chasing, calling, or proving yourself. She only misses you when you finally go silent. That's when panic sets in. She laughs louder with friends, posts pictures pretending she's happy, maybe even talks to someone new. But at night, when the noise dies down, the truth hits her. She lost a good man. The very moment she thought you were replaceable is the moment she realizes you're not. And that's when regret burns the deepest. Today, we're going to uncover exactly why this shift happens, the psychology tricks behind her regret, and why silence and strength speak louder than any words you could ever say. 1. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most underrated yet powerful psychology tricks in relationships, and most men underestimate just how devastating its impact can be on a woman's mind. Let's be clear, this isn't about games, revenge, or immaturity. This is about discipline, self-respect, and the ability to flip the dynamic by removing the one thing she has always taken for granted, your constant attention. Take John, 42, as a prime example. For years, he lived trapped in a loop of emotional chases. Every argument ended the same way. She walked out, and he followed. She yelled, he apologized. She withdrew, he begged. And every time, she knew the script by heart. John would fold. He would call, text, plead, and bend just to get her back. That's female psychology at work. When a woman knows you'll never leave, she feels safe to test, to push, and even to disrespect. But then came the turning point. After their last fight, John didn't call. He didn't text. He didn't show up at her door. He didn't even bother blocking her. He simply went silent. And that silence echoed louder than any word he had ever spoken. That's when the game changed. Why does silence cut so deep? Because the human brain is wired to crave certainty. Female psychology thrives on clarity and validation. When you argue, beg, or explain, you give her a clear picture of where you stand. She holds the power. But silence flips the equation. Suddenly, she's left with questions she cannot answer. Has he moved on? Is he angry? Does he still love me? Is he seeing someone else? That uncertainty is unbearable. The woman who once felt secure in your predictable devotion now lies awake at night replaying memories, searching for signs, doubting her assumptions. This is the turning point when she begins to miss you most, not when you chase her, but when you remove the very oxygen she once breathed, your attention. That's the genius of psychology tricks. They don't rely on force. They rely on the natural mechanics of the mind. In male psychology, silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It's the mark of a man who understands that dignity is not negotiable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Silence is not about punishing her, it's about protecting you. It preserves your masculine energy, it commands respect without saying a word, and it forces her to confront the possibility of losing you. That is the essence of how to fall in love with yourself first, by realizing you don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to beg to be valued. You don't need to fight battles with endless words when your stillness says it all. John's story proves it. A week after he went silent, his girlfriend reached out. Not because she suddenly loved him more, but because she could not handle the void his silence created. That's female psychology under pressure. When the attention she assumed was endless suddenly dries up, she panics. She feels the weight of absence more than the comfort of presence. And here's the trick most men overlook. When you disappear, your value multiplies in her mind. Your silence makes her revisit every memory, every detail, every moment she dismissed. She starts to wonder if she underestimated you. She begins to miss the things she once overlooked. That's the subtle brilliance of psychology tricks in love and attraction. It's not about force, it's about scarcity. So don't misunderstand this lesson. Silence is not about revenge, it's about respect. It's not about manipulation, it's about realization. The man who can stay silent after chaos is the man who holds the power. The woman may not admit it, but deep inside, she respects a man who refuses to beg. That's when she realizes he is not replaceable. That's when she regrets losing him. And that's when the dynamic shifts forever. You must remember this. A high-value man does not chase validation. He creates it by being grounded, calm, and immovable. That is how to fall in love with your own strength again, by realizing that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is command. It is the ultimate test of control. So next time, when the urge to argue or explain floods your veins, stop. Be silent. Let her feel the space. Let her sit in the uncertainty. Don't rescue her from it. Don't fill the void with desperate words. Because the man who learns this discipline masters not only himself, but also the game of attraction. In the end, silence is not the absence of power, it is the embodiment of it. And that, gentleman, is the turning point when she misses you most. 2. Growth after breakup. Nothing stings a woman more than realizing the man she thought would crumble without her has instead risen higher than ever. Growth after a breakup is the ultimate plot twist, and it's the turning point when she misses you most. Take Michael, 55, divorced after 20 years of marriage. He could have drowned in bitterness, wasting nights at bars or rehashing old pain with anyone who would listen. But Michael chose differently. He stepped into the boxing ring, ran marathons, and packed his bags for a solo trip to Spain. Within months, he was unrecognizable, not just in body but in spirit. His posture stood tall, his laughter was genuine, his energy magnetic. And when his ex-wife stumbled upon his Facebook photos, her heart sank. Why? Because growth is proof. Proof that you never needed her to complete you. Proof that you are a high-value man. Psychology teaches us that people don't regret what they still own. They regret what's gone and grown beyond reach. Growth signals to her subconscious that you're no longer the man she walked away from, you're better. And that's a brutal contrast. The man she left behind was familiar, predictable. The man you've become radiates masculine energy, discipline, and a sense of purpose that she no longer has access to. That comparison cuts deep because it forces her to admit she underestimated you. She thought you'd be broken, but you became unbreakable. And here's the beauty. Growth doesn't have to mean running marathons or booking international flights. For men between 35, it can mean reclaiming your health by losing the extra weight, finally mastering a skill you always wanted, or building financial stability that gives you freedom. Every step you take forward is a message. I am not defined by the breakup. I define myself. This is what makes a man attractive. Not the desperate chase, but the silent transformation. That is how you attract women effortlessly, by becoming someone who doesn't seek validation, but embodies value. Look again at Michael's story. His friends respected him more. His colleagues admired his work ethic. Strangers were inspired by his discipline. That's social proof in action. When the world acknowledges your growth, it amplifies her regret. Because now she isn't just missing you, she's watching everyone else admire you. And nothing makes a woman question her choices more than seeing the man she lost become the man every woman wants. That's masculine energy at its finest. That's the essence of being a high-value man. Don't stay stuck. Don't waste your nights scrolling through old memories or wishing she would call. Be the man who grows, who glows, who refuses to stay broken. Because growth isn't only about making her miss you, it's about making yourself unstoppable. You must evolve, you must expand, and you must embrace the truth. The man who rises after heartbreak is the man no woman ever truly forgets. If this message spoke to you, like this video, share it with a friend who needs it, and subscribe for more powerful wisdom. Growth after a breakup isn't about proving her wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Comment to remember, I grow stronger every day. 3. Scarcity mindset. Scarcity is not just a psychological trick, it's an undeniable truth of human behavior, proven for centuries. When something is too available, it loses its shine. When access is limited, desire grows. As the philosopher Seneca once said, it is not the man who is too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. David, 38, lived this lesson the hard way. He used to reply to every text within seconds, skip nights out with his brothers just to keep his girlfriend satisfied, and bend his schedule to her whims. He thought being endlessly available would prove his love, but all it proved was weakness. When the breakup came, instead of drowning in regret, he flipped the script. He rebuilt an iron mind. He invested his time in his career. He hit the gym. He laughed with his brothers on weekends. He stopped answering late-night calls. He stopped being her safety net. And that is when everything changed. At first, she thought he was bluffing. She texted, "Hey stranger," expecting instant replies. He took days. She called at midnight, expecting the old David. He didn't pick up. Slowly, the realization hit. She no longer had unlimited access to him. And scarcity drove her crazy. That is the power of scarcity. It transforms perception. Just look at modern life. Luxury brands create wait lists not because they can't produce more, but because scarcity builds desire. Limited edition watches, rare wines, or VIP tickets, they are wanted because not everyone can have them. In relationships, the principle is the same. When David was always available, he was predictable, ordinary, replaceable. But when he created scarcity, he became rare. He became valuable. Women don't respect men who hand over their time like loose change. They respect men who treat their time as treasure. That is Old Stoic wisdom at work. Value yourself first, and the world will follow. This shift isn't about playing games. It's about self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's what David did. He stopped proving. He stopped chasing. He simply became. And when you embody this mindset, you don't just make her miss you, you take back control of your life. Scarcity forces her to replay memories, exaggerate what she lost, and realize she gambled away something irreplaceable. That is the turning point. That is the moment she feels the sting. Men, listen carefully. Don't give anyone unlimited access to you. Don't live as if your worth depends on her approval. Be the man who invests in his health, his mission, his brotherhood. Let your silence become louder than her demands. Let your growth become the answer to her doubts. Build that iron mind that cannot be bent by emotional games. Because the man who practices scarcity is the man who wins. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. This is discipline. This is what I call Stoicism win, the quiet victory of a man who holds his ground. So take this lesson and live it. Don't text back instantly. Don't cancel plans for someone who would never cancel theirs for you. Don't hand over your time for free. Guard it like a rare jewel. Because the truth is simple, people want what they cannot easily have. And when you live by Old Stoic wisdom, when you master scarcity with an iron mind, you won't just make her miss you, you'll make yourself impossible to forget. 4. Social proof and presence. Nothing unsettles a woman more than realizing the man she once dismissed is now admired, respected, and celebrated by others, because in female psychology, this is the ultimate trigger of regret. Social proof and presence are powerful psychology tricks that flip the script without you saying a word. Take Richard, 60, who could have faded into bitterness after divorce, but instead he poured his energy into community work, became the glue of family gatherings, and reconnected with old friends. At one summer barbecue, someone captured him laughing, alive, magnetic, surrounded by people who valued him. That photo hit social media, and within hours his ex-wife saw what she had lost, and it stung in a way words never could. Why does this hit so hard? Because human nature craves what others validate. When a man is admired by peers, respected by colleagues, cherished by family, he automatically becomes more attractive in the eyes of the very woman who once took him for granted. It's not just her view anymore. It's society declaring, this man has value. That's a reality she cannot ignore. This is your turning point. Presence matters more than explanations. Your energy in a room tells your story louder than words. Richard didn't walk into that barbecue desperate for approval. He walked in calm, centered, carrying masculine energy that cannot be faked. Women notice this. They may not admit it, but when they see you thriving socially, they feel the painful void of your absence in their lives. That is the secret to how to fall in love again with life, not her, by standing tall in your own power. So don't isolate. Don't vanish into resentment. Don't waste years proving your worth to someone blind to it. Step into life fully. Be surrounded by those who respect you. Build connections that elevate your spirit. Social proof works because it is undeniable. It silences doubts and magnifies your worth. The louder your life becomes with joy, respect, and real bonds, the deeper her silence of regret will grow. And here's the profound twist. These psychology tricks aren't about manipulating her. They're about transforming you into the high-value man you were always meant to be. Social proof doesn't just make her miss you. It forces her to remember the man she underestimated, the man who chose growth over bitterness, the man whose presence now shines brighter than her absence. As Oscar Wilde once said, nothing succeeds like excess, and in this context, excess doesn't mean extravagance. It means overflowing with life, purpose, and strength. Be that man. Live that way. Because when you embrace your power, she won't just miss you, she'll realize too late she lost you. If you find today's content useful to you, don't forget to share your feelings and lessons with us. Or simply comment, "Very cool." It's a great encouragement for our channel makers. Thank you very much. 5. The glow of masculine energy. Masculine energy is magnetic, and nothing makes her miss you more than when you embody it fully. Let's take Robert, 47, as an example. His business collapsed, his finances crumbled, and at his lowest point, his wife walked away, convinced he'd never rise again. Most men would have drowned in bitterness, begging for sympathy, but not Robert. Instead, he chose the path of a high-value man. He rebuilt from the ashes. He studied late nights, sharpened his mind with investment strategies, and put in the kind of disciplined work that only men with true masculine energy can endure. Within 2 years, not only had he stabilized his finances, but his business soared beyond its past success. Then one day, his ex stumbled across his LinkedIn profile, Robert in a tailored suit, smiling with calm confidence, shaking hands with other successful men. That image didn't just surprise her, it haunted her. It reminded her of the strength, the presence, and the masculine energy she once had by her side and lost. Don't confuse masculine energy with aggression. That is weakness disguised as power. True masculine energy is about direction, control, and unshakable presence. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth, who doesn't beg, who doesn't need validation. It's the discipline of a man who leads himself first before leading others. That is why women miss it so deeply, because it represents safety, stability, and admiration. It's not about loud words, it's about steady action. A man glowing with masculine energy doesn't need to announce his value. His life speaks for him. For men in midlife, the glow of masculine energy doesn't come from chasing women. Don't waste your time there. Instead, chase your purpose. That is the secret psychology trick most never understand. Build your business. Mentor younger men. Master your craft. Sculpt your body. Deepen your wisdom. The more you invest in purpose, the more radiant your energy becomes. And here's the truth. When a woman sees that glow from afar, it sparks regret. She may laugh louder with friends, post pictures pretending to live her best life, but inside she knows masculine energy is rare in today's world. And once she loses it, she may never find it again. Robert didn't need to prove anything to his ex. He didn't call. He didn't explain. He didn't chase. His success, his composure, his presence said everything words never could. That is the essence of being a high-value man. That is the power of masculine energy. It speaks without shouting. So if you've been abandoned, underestimated, or replaced, don't panic. Don't grovel. Be the man who invests in himself, who builds, who glows. Women are not haunted by men who beg, they are haunted by men who rise. A high-value man doesn't ask, "Will she come back?" He asks, "How far can I go?" And that is exactly why she misses him the most. Remember this. When you step into your masculine energy, you don't just attract women, you attract life. Success, respect, and admiration follow a man who refuses to stay down. That glow can't be faked, and it can't be ignored. She will see it. She will feel it. And when she does, she'll realize the truth too late, that losing a man with real masculine energy was the biggest mistake of her life. 6. The fear of replacement. This is one of the most powerful psychology tricks in female psychology. The moment she misses you most is not when you argue, not when you walk away, but when she feels the sting of being replaced. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it." That is exactly how this works. The fear of being replaced is not about you. It's about the image of you in her mind, the comfort she thought she owned, the certainty she believed she had. Paul, 38, learned this the hard way. After years of loyalty, he walked away quietly. His ex assumed he'd wait, lingering in the shadows of her memory. But one picture changed everything: a simple dinner, a laugh with a female coworker, 2 glasses raised in a toast. Within minutes, her jealousy exploded. Her questions weren't casual, they were frantic. "Who is she? Are you dating?" That's when Paul realized the truth. Her deepest fear wasn't losing him. It was seeing another woman take his place. Don't underestimate this. Women will rarely admit it, but jealousy is a confession of attachment. In her mind, the spiral begins instantly. What does she have that I don't? Is he happier now? Did he move on faster than me? Even if her feelings have cooled, the thought of replacement reignites the fire of regret. That's why the old Stoic wisdom is still relevant. Control yourself, not others. Your goal is not to manipulate her mind. Your goal is to live fully. Post the pictures of your gym sessions, your travels, your new hobbies, your laughter with friends. Not to flaunt, but to show the truth that life goes on, that you are thriving. That is the essence of the Iron Mind, choosing growth over games. Let's be clear, this isn't about cruelty. This is about clarity. A man with Stoicism does not waste his time proving his worth. He simply embodies it. He shows through his actions, through his energy, through his freedom, that he is complete. That's when her imagination works harder than your words ever could. When she sees you enjoying life, her mind fills in the blanks. And trust me, her imagination is more dangerous than any direct confrontation. Paul didn't plan it. He didn't craft a strategy. He simply chose himself. That is the turning point when you stop chasing, stop begging, stop waiting. That is when she feels the weight of losing what she thought was guaranteed. The psychology trick isn't about deceit. It's about power. The moment she believes she's replaceable, she realizes she never really valued what she had. And that's when regret strikes hardest. Men, listen carefully. Don't waste energy trying to prove you can't be replaced. Be the man who never waits for permission to live. Build your strength, sharpen your mind, walk with discipline. That is how you win, not only in love, but in life. Remember the old Stoic wisdom: man conquers the world by conquering himself. Your silence, your growth, your iron mind are louder than any speech. When you live fully, when you embody freedom, you don't just make her miss you, you make her realize you are never hers to control. That is victory. That is Stoicism win. If this truth hit home, don't just watch, take action. Like this video, subscribe for more psychology tricks that give you back control, and drop a comment right now. I am never replaceable. 7. Emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can ever master, because nothing rattles female psychology more than realizing the emotional leash she thought she had on you has been cut, and cut for good. Take Tom, 52, a man who once spent endless nights stalking his ex's social media, liking her pictures, reacting to her stories, and sending those desperate "I miss you" texts that screamed he was still hooked. She thrived on it because validation is addictive. As long as he kept feeding her ego, she never had to fear losing him. But the day Tom decided he'd had enough, the day he stopped checking, stopped reacting, stopped validating, everything changed. His silence wasn't just physical, it was emotional detachment, and that detachment burned hotter than any words ever could. Suddenly, she was the one posting louder captions, flirty comments, endless selfies designed to pull him back in. But none of it landed, none of it mattered, because he was no longer giving her what she craved most: attention. And that's when she started missing him, not because she suddenly realized she loved him, but because the constant supply of emotional oxygen was gone. Psychologists call this the withdrawal of reinforcement. Once you stop rewarding behavior with energy and focus, the craving intensifies, and what she really feels is the emptiness of her own making. That's why these psychology tricks work so brutally well. Female psychology is wired to miss what it no longer controls. The attention she took for granted now feels like a drug she can't get, and the silence she once dismissed now screams louder than any words ever could. Tom didn't need to block her, argue with her, or prove a point. His detachment alone spoke volumes, and in that void she had to face herself. For men, understand this clearly. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is strength. It is the discipline to master your own emotions instead of being mastered by hers. It is the refusal to play the endless cycle of breakups, reconciliations, and attention games. That is how you flip the dynamic. That is how you create the turning point when she misses you most. Don't chase. Don't validate. Don't waste your energy trying to prove your worth. Be the man who can detach, because that's the man who is truly free. And remember this truth: women don't always miss you. They miss the attention, the validation, the safety net you provided. When you take that away, you force her to confront her own emptiness, and that's when she spirals. If you want to know how to fall in love again with yourself, start here, detach, grow, glow, and watch how quickly the tables turn. Emotional detachment is not just a strategy, it is a weapon, and the man who learns to wield it never loses himself again. 8. Confidence without her. Confidence is magnetic. Confidence is power. Confidence is what makes a man unforgettable, and nothing makes a woman regret losing you more than seeing you radiate it without her. Let me tell you about Daniel, 45. He was once the kind of man who leaned too heavily on his partner's approval. Every day, he asked questions like, "Do I look good in this shirt?" Or, "Do you think I'm smart enough to take this job?" At first, it looked harmless. But over time, she lost respect. Why? Because a man who constantly needs reassurance is not standing in his own masculine energy. He isn't a high-value man. He becomes dependent. And dependency kills attraction. But here's the turning point. After the breakup, Daniel stopped begging for approval. He rebuilt himself from the ground up. He invested in sharper clothes, spoke with authority, and even started leading workshops in his company. Suddenly, he wasn't the insecure man she left. He was someone entirely different, a leader. And then, when his ex walked into a conference room and saw him standing in front of a crowd, confidently delivering a speech with steady eyes and calm power, her stomach twisted. She didn't expect that transformation. That moment cut deeper than any text he could have sent. Why? Because confidence signals value. A confident man doesn't ask for validation, he gives it. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who radiate certainty and direction. That is masculine energy at its core. When you no longer lean on her approval, but stand on your own, you show her something undeniable. You never really needed her validation in the first place. That realization hits harder than silence, harder than distance, harder than any clever words. It is the mirror that forces her to see the man she underestimated. Now, let's be clear. Confidence doesn't just come from talk. It grows from mastery. Mastery of your craft. Mastery of your finances. Mastery of your body and your mind. Confidence is built in the quiet hours nobody applauds, the 6 a.m. mornings at the gym, the late nights spent learning new skills, the risks taken when others were too afraid to step forward. Daniel's glow didn't come from arrogance, it came from self-trust. And that self-trust is what separates an average man from a high-value man. Don't mistake arrogance for confidence. Arrogance needs to be noticed. Confidence doesn't. Confidence is silent but powerful. It walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. When you develop it, you naturally attract women, not because you chase them, but because they are instinctively drawn to that energy. A man who owns himself, who stands tall without external approval, is rare in today's world. That rarity is irresistible. And here's the irony every man must understand. When you finally stop seeking her validation and stand tall on your own, that's when she starts craving yours. The woman who once dismissed you now feels a pang of loss. She sees what she walked away from and realizes it was her mistake, not yours. Confidence without her is the turning point. It is the moment she knows she lost a good man. So don't beg. Don't chase. Don't explain your worth. Be the man who builds himself, who trusts himself, who lives with certainty. That is how you become a high-value man. That is how you attract women naturally. That is how your masculine energy glows. Gentlemen, confidence without her is the ultimate turning point. When you no longer seek validation, but stand tall in your own mastery, that's when she feels the loss most. Comment right now, I am confident without her. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more unshakable wisdom. 9. The timing of regret. The timing of regret is ruthless, and it follows no calendar you can control. Regret doesn't come when you are broken. It doesn't appear when you are on your knees begging for answers. It shows up when you've already risen. Sarah, 36, once confessed about her ex-husband. I didn't miss him when he was chasing me. I missed him when I saw him living happily without me. That single line captures the essence of female psychology. Regret is delayed, hidden, and merciless. Mark, 58, lived this truth. After a painful divorce, his wife walked away convinced she was choosing something better. While she enjoyed her freedom, Mark turned inward. He embraced Old Stoic wisdom, cut weight, rebuilt friendships, and launched a fresh career. 2 years later at a wedding, she saw a man transformed, smiling, glowing, carrying himself with iron mind confidence. That was the moment her regret detonated, not because he begged, but because he had mastered himself. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is Stoicism win. That is victory through discipline. Why does it take so long? Because in the beginning, she is distracted by novelty, while you are immersed in pain. She thinks the grass is greener, but grass fades. Thrills vanish. Distractions end. And when silence replaces the validation she once took for granted, reality cuts deep. Psychologists call this delayed emotional recognition. In plain words, people see the value of what they lost only when it returns stronger than before. That is the cruel but liberating truth. Old Stoic wisdom reminds us that pain is fuel, not a cage. You must turn suffering into progress. You must build an iron mind, one that cannot be shaken by her absence. Don't wait for her text. Don't count the days hoping regret comes sooner. That is weakness. Focus instead on the glow of your own life. Build your body. Expand your mind. Grow your presence. Let Stoicism win guide you. Seneca declared, "It is not the man who is too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Don't crave her validation. Don't crave her return. Crave your own progress. That's the game. Mark didn't even notice the moment she regretted leaving him, because by then, he was too busy living. That is the lesson. That is the power. And that is exactly what you must embrace. Stop chasing, start building. Regret will arrive in its own time, but by then, you won't need it anymore. You'll already have one. You'll have proven through Old Stoic wisdom and an iron mind that the true turning point is not when she misses you, it's when you no longer miss her. That's real freedom. That's the moment you master life. 10. The boundary effect. The boundary effect is the ultimate test of strength, the silent trigger that flips the entire dynamic, because nothing makes a woman miss you more than when you finally draw a line in the sand and refuse to let it be crossed. And this isn't theory. It's lived experience. Take James, 50, who spent years swallowing disrespect, last-minute cancellations, ignored calls, biting criticisms, and the constant sting of being undervalued. He thought patience was love, but patience without respect is slow self-destruction. And after one final betrayal, James didn't scream, didn't plead, didn't deliver ultimatums. He simply stood tall, looked her in the eye, and said, "I won't return to a place where I'm not valued." Then he walked away and never looked back. That single moment of unwavering boundary carried more power than 1,000 apologies, and that is where the real psychology tricks come into play. In female psychology, people respect what they cannot control, and boundaries create clarity, the clarity that you are a man of self-respect, discipline, and value. Women test limits not because they hate them, but because they crave them. It's how they measure if a man has a spine. When you let every test pass, when you cave under pressure, you lose her respect before you lose her presence. But when you stand firm, calm, and unshakable, she feels the weight of her own actions crash down on her, and that is the turning point when she misses you most. James's ex later confessed, "I never thought he'd actually leave," and that shock became the moment regret sank in, because suddenly the love, stability, and safety she had taken for granted were gone, sealed off by the very gates she thought she could endlessly push open. For men, the lesson is crystal clear. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection, and they are the strongest psychology tricks you'll ever master in learning how to fall in love the right way and keep your dignity intact. A high-value man doesn't tolerate games, doesn't beg for attention, doesn't negotiate with disrespect. Don't mistake being forgiving for being weak. Don't confuse endless patience with strength. Be the man who sets the terms of his life. Be the man who opens his gates only for those who earn the right to enter. That is power. That is freedom. And that is exactly what makes her miss you. Not the chasing, not the pleading, but the silence, the distance, the glow of a man who finally chose himself. Once you live with that kind of strength, you stop worrying about how to fall in love and start embodying what makes love worth having. The paradox is simple. When you stop giving away your value, the world, including the woman who once tested you, suddenly realizes the weight of losing it. So stand firm, hold your line, and never apologize for protecting your worth, because the moment you stop tolerating disrespect is the moment she realizes she lost something she can never replace. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me until the end. Remember, the turning point when she misses you most is never about chasing, begging, or proving yourself. It's about stepping back and proving to yourself that you are enough. Silence, growth, boundaries, and self-respect are not just psychology tricks. They are the foundation of a strong man's life. My sincere advice to you is this: stop waiting for her to value you. Start building a life that makes you proud, because when you rise, when you glow with strength and discipline, everything else falls into place naturally. If this message gave you clarity, like this video, share it with a friend who needs the reminder, and don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. And one last thing, drop in the comments, "I choose strength over chasing." That's the mark of a man who respects himself, and that's the man she will always miss most.